Hello, welcome to our daily gardening and worm farm. Today we are going to be having our gardening Q&A live, and we're going to be discussing the uses of diatomaceous earth in the garden. But before we get down into the discussion, I want to apologize to you guys because on Friday I was not able to do the worm farm live, and it was my intention to upload a video to apologize for not having the live, but then it was only yesterday I decided to investigate why it is that I haven't had any response to me not doing the live. So upon my investigation, I realized that I accidentally set the video for private, so the apology video was not uploaded. So I apologize for that. I know a lot of you may have been there waiting to see if I'm going to start the live. So my apology where that is concerned. It's all a learning lesson. So now I'm going to have to pay attention and make sure that I have the right setting so that I don't keep you guys there waiting thinking that the live is going to start when there wasn't going to be one. So again, my apologies for that. So we're going to be discussing the uses of diatomaceous earth in the garden. And of course, if you guys use diatomaceous earth in your garden, feel free to share how you use it, what benefits you've had from it, and things like that. If there are things, oh, hi, CC. If there are points that I did not mention in here regarding the uses of the diatomaceous earth in your garden that you're aware of, please feel free to share it with everyone. Oh, hi, Melanie. Yeah, so again, my apologies for not being here for the live. Oh, hi, Russell. Okay, I'm a bit behind today. I'm a slow poke. Yeah, so let's see now. Diatomaceous earth. It is one of my favorite things to have in for for use around my garden, and I only learned of its existence about a year ago. And had it not been for Japanese beetles that were affecting my brassicas, oh hi Han White, I would not have been aware of its existence. Well, maybe after I started doing live, Russell would have introduced me to it. Yes, so I only learned of it last year when I was having problems with the Japanese beetle, and then I was trying to find solutions to get rid of them, and then I came across diatomaceous earth, and since then I'm ensured that at all times I have it available. And then because of Russell, I got to learn that it is also beneficial in your worm farm. So now I ensure that I have it at all times. So diatomaceous earth is a mechanical pesticide. It is referred to as a microscopic razor that is made from rock powder. And it is called a razor, microscopic razor, because the particles are so fine, but they are very sharp when it comes to certain types of pests. Now, the good thing about diatomaceous earth is that it is non-toxic. That's very excellent. Now, because of its razor-like particles, insects that crawl over it will damage their waxy exoskeleton, and that will result in them becoming dehydrated, and eventually it will lead to their death. Flying insects do get affected by it, it will kill them as well. But if they are flying, then the effect of it on them might be less unless they come in contact with a good amount of it. So if you have a pests that are flying creatures, pouring it directly on them works better than, because they don't crawl, they're gonna fly, so they can avoid a lot of contact with the diatomaceous earth. But once they get it on them, it will eventually damage them. Melanie says, I am using it, but it is not effective on everything. It works on earwigs and cabbage worms. Yes, it is not effective on every type of pest. And I'm going to be discussing further on some of the pests that it will be effective on and why it is so effective on some of them. Okay, so how do you apply diatomaceous earth in your garden? You spread the powder all over the garden. You spread it on your plants and you spread it on the ground of your garden. When you're applying the diatomaceous earth, you want to make sure that you apply it after you have watered your plants. The water will help the diatomaceous earth to stick to the plants, but it does not have that level of effectiveness when it is wet. And so after it has dried, then the effectiveness of it will appear. So it only works best when it is dry. And if, of course, if you water after you've applied it, not only is it going to get wet, but you will also be washing the diatomaceous earth off the surface of your soil and off your plants, and then you're not going to be reaping the benefit that you originally intended. So in case you have rain, then you know you're going to need to reapply the diatomaceous earth. Yes. And because you want to have pollinators in your garden, it is recommended that you do not add the diatomaceous earth to the blossoms that are on your plants, because it will kill the pollinators or it will repel them. So make sure that once your plants are flowering, you are careful with how you apply the diatomaceous earth. So by spreading diatomaceous earth on the plants and on the ground, a lot of pests will actually avoid the garden, and those that fail to stay away from the garden, then they will eventually meet their demise, but it will repel some of the pests from your garden. Now, if you put diatomaceous earth on flying creatures and you see the creatures flying away, do not fear. It doesn't mean that they have escaped. As long as the diatomaceous earth is on them, it's going to be cutting into their exoskeleton and they will eventually die. They won't be able to escape it. So a lot of people tend to have problem with ants in their garden. Ants, they're not harmful to your garden, but they are very good at forming symbiotic relationship with other pests like aphids and other types of scaly insects. So they tend to carry these insects around, and in exchange, these insects will provide them with the nectar from the plants, whether it is the flowers or the leaves or whatever the case may be. So they form a symbiotic relationship with ants. So while ants might not be harmful in your garden, apart from, oh, annoying, it can be when a lot of them decide to bite you if you step in their nest, then they're not harmful. But because of the symbiotic relationship that they form with these pests, it is a good idea to get them under control. Now, these ants have a waxy exoskeleton as well, so using diatomaceous earth will help to get rid of them. Now, let's see, unwetness. How do they carry other pests around? Well, the pest can be carried on their backs. I don't know if they use their mouth to carry the pest, but they find a way to do it. Or maybe they carry it the same way they would carry their foods. I don't know if you're aware of the fact that an ant can carry 50 times its body weight. So they probably can carry several of these pests at once. And so if you have plants and you notice that the plants have a lot of ants on them, you need to start checking those plants because the chances are that these ants are carrying the pest, offering them transportation to your plants, and they also offer protection for these aphids and other pests from predators. Yes, they do protect them, Russell. So, how does diatomaceous earth benefit your compost or manure pile? It's very likely that your compost or your manure is going to have some amount of maggots in there, unless you have a system where they definitely cannot get in. But chances are these things attracts flies and other type of pests that will produce maggots. And so adding diatomaceous earth is one way that you can help to get rid of these maggots from your manure or from your compost. Now, not all flies spread germs. Most of them do. And so if you see maggots in your compost or your manure, you might not be able to identify what fly laid that maggots, and so I'd recommend not taking any chances. Once you see that you have maggots in your compost bin, then adding diatomaceous earth and mixing it in would be a very wise idea. Let's see, and White says, oh, okay, because they are grouping up with aphids in my garden. Okay, yes. So you need getting some diatomaceous earth would work well for you. Melanie says, good to know that I should put the powder on the ground too. I always put it on the leaves. Yeah. And if you can get it on the underside of your leaves, that would be good too. So if you have some form of applicator to use to apply the powder, then that would be excellent. Because as you know, most pests will stay on the underside of the leaves because one, they are protected from the elements and they are protected from a lot of predators that would be flying around. So they tend to be on the underside of the plant. So if when you're applying the diatomaceous earth, it's a good idea to try to get it on the underside of the plants as well. Now, can diatomaceous earth be used to discourage rodents in your garden? What do you think? Have you guys ever used it to discourage rodents in your garden? Yes, it can actually be used to discourage rodents in your garden. There are certain smells that people have been using over the generations to repel pests in your garden. They're using cinnamon, they'll use peppermint, they will use citrus, and so many different types of essential oils to repel pests. And a lot of time when they do this, they soak cotton balls with these scents and put it in their garden. But the thing with that is that the cotton ball tends to dry out quickly. Diatomaceous earth, however, is very good at holding the scent from these oils, essential oils. And so when you place it in your garden, the effect of it will last longer than if you're using it with just the cotton balls. Now, did you know? Oh, hi, Helpy. Did you know that diatomaceous earth is a great deodorant for the air. See, I use a recycled hair dye bottle for applying diatomaceous earth to plants. It puts out good puffs. Okay, good. Yeah. The first time I bought diatomaceous earth last year when I was having problems with these Japanese beetle, I bought it in a little bottle that has one of those little pointy tips. So when you spray it out, it comes out in a puff. So thankfully, I did not throw away the bottle. So now that I'm buying larger package of the diatomaceous earth, I just transfer some to the bottle and use that to apply it. So I don't know if they have specific applicators made to apply such things. Chances are most likely they do. But if you can find bottles similar to those with the top shape like those of oil cans, well, not oil cans, but those oil bottles that you would use to oil your tools or your machine, stuff like that. So if you have those around the home, provided they are a decent size, then you can use those. Yes, so as I was saying, diatomaceous earth actually is a great deodorant for the air. And so you can spread it in your garden, or if you have a smelly compost, whether it is because there's too much moisture that is making your compost anaerobic, or maybe the food scraps is not breaking down fast enough. Whatever the case may be, if you have a smelly compost, then you can add diatomaceous earth to it, and it will help to deodorize the compost, and it will help to deodorize your garden. Now, one, you might wonder, why do I need to deodorize my garden? But if you are someone who raises pets, or if you have stray animals that tend to come into your garden and use it for their toilet, then deodorizing your garden might be a good idea. And for this, diatomaceous earth works well because it will deter them from wanting to turn it into a toilet. There's nothing more frustrating than stepping into your garden and stepping into undesirables. And especially for people like me who don't raise pets in this region. Yes, so adding the diatomaceous earth is a pretty good idea. Another benefit of diatomaceous earth in your garden is that it increases porosity and airflow in your garden. It is also good at holding in the nutrients that you apply to your garden. It also helps with drainage. So if you want to ensure that your garden has proper drainage and you don't have access to things like compost or worm castings, then adding diatomaceous earth, a good amount of it to your garden, will help with drainage. And it's good to use it if you're growing in containers as well, because you want that porosity in your in your containers. And especially if you are someone who doesn't really empty your containers in order to revitalize your soil, if you are someone who revitalize your container garden by simply adding material to the top of that container, then adding diatomaceous earth is a good idea because it's going to help with the drainage and it's going to help with keeping in some of the nutrients. Now, what are some of the pests that diatomaceous earth will kill? Diatomaceous earth will actually repel some pests, but it will kill any pest that has a waxy exoskeleton. Because of the razor like properties or particles, then it will cut through these waxy exoskeleton, and this will lead to them becoming dehydrated and eventually they will die. So these pest that has a waxy exoskeleton or pest that the diatomaceous earth will kill includes things like roaches, fleas, ticks, bed bugs, earwigs, millipedes, centipedes, spider mites, aphids, Japanese beetles, pill bugs, lice, slugs. Well, I don't know how effective it is against slugs, but it is said that it does kill slugs, maggots, grubs, ants, larvae, and much more. So it is able to take care of a wide variety of the pests that we may have around us. Now, what is it that makes diatomaceous earth stand out as a pesticide? What is it that puts it above other pesticides? One, it is not chemical based, so that's good. And two, pests cannot build up a resistance to it. So unlike other form of pesticide, whether it is man-made or it is naturally occurring, pests can build up a resistance to most types of pesticide. But when it comes to diatomaceous earth, they do not stand a chance. And that is why I make sure that I always have it around, because so often we have to keep rotating the type of pesticide that we are using in our garden because the pests get accustomed to it. And the sad thing about pesticide is usually when you start having issues with a particular type of pest, the generations that follow comes from the first set that you encountered. And so this first set would have over time developed a resistance to the pesticide that you're using. And that resistance can be passed down to each of the generation that follows. So because of that, it can make it very difficult to get them under control. But then that's where diatomaceous earth comes in. And diatomaceous earth can be used in addition to other types of pesticides. So it's not the case that you have to stick to just diatomaceous earth or to whatever type of pesticide you're using. You can use a combination of other types of pesticide. Now, is there any danger to using diatomaceous earth? Sadly, as is the case with everything else in life, yes, there is some danger to using diatomaceous earth. It does not discriminate against the type of insect that comes in contact with it. So it will kill both the beneficial insects and the pests. So on that note, you need to be careful if because it will affect both the beneficial insects and the pests. So it's up to you to determine how much you want to use, how often you're going to use it. But then that is the case with a lot of other pesticides. There are some pesticides that will not harm the beneficial insect but will harm the pest because they have been designed to do just so. But then there are some pesticides that will harm both the good and the bad. So diatomaceous earth falls into that category. It does not discriminate. Okay, so what nutrients does diatomaceous earth contain? Where gardening is concerned, it does not contain a lot of nutrients, but it does have some. As you know, it is a rock, so it does contain some amount of minerals. So it contains, 5% of sodium, 3% of magnesium, it has 2% iron, 19% of calcium, and 33% of silicon. And it also have quite a few trace minerals. So it does have some amount of nutrients, but just not a lot. Is it harmful to inhale diatomaceous earth? To an extent, it is. As you know, it is a rock, which means that your body cannot break it down. It is a rock, which means that the particles can be a bit irritating to deal with. So if you inhale it, it can irritate your nasal passage, it can irritate your nose. When a lot of it is inhaled, it can actually induce coughing and it can lead to shortness of breath. If it comes in contact with your skin, it may result in dryness and it may act as an irritant for your skin. It may not irritate everyone, but it can be an irritant. Now, because of its abrasive nature, then it can also irritate the eyes as well as, yes, so it can also irritate the eyes because it is so abrasive. So if you're going to be using diatomaceous earth, and especially if you are in an enclosed environment, it is recommended that you wear your proper protective equipment so that you can lessen the effect that it may have on you. Of course, you may know that there are food grade diatomaceous earth on the market, and there are some people who consume a small amount of it for health reasons. Some say it's not recommended to be used that way, but there are those who do. So it is not really overly harmful, but it's just that it acts as an irritant for your nose and your eyes and your skin. So make sure that if you're using it in an unenclosed area, or sorry, if you're using it in an enclosed area, or if you're using it in conditions that is very windy, then it is a good idea to make sure that you wear your proper protective equipment. Okay, so can diatomaceous earth expire? Diatomaceous earth does not have an expiration date. As you know, it is made from some form of fossilized rock, so it does not have an expiration date. However, you want to keep it dry if you're going to be storing it, because then you will have it for much longer. So question for you guys. Do you use diatomaceous earth and what do you use it for? So I have been, as I mentioned before, I do use diatomaceous earth. I have been using it for, last year I was using it for the Japanese beetle and aphids. And this year, well, I can't see what is eating my plants. I haven't been able to find the criminals apart from the potato bugs. And I did use it for the potato bugs. And but I can't see what is eating my plants, and so I've been spraying my plants with the diatomaceous earth for that. But I also use it for my worms, thanks to Russell. Yeah, so I have been using it on my worms because one, it's going to neutralize the acid that is in that can develop in your worm beds. Let's see. Russell says diatomaceous earth is already millions of years old. I don't think it can expire. Exactly, it cannot expire, which is great because a lot of the pesticides that we buy, they do have a shelf life. So then that is one more positive thing where diatomaceous earth is concerned. You can have it forever. Yes, so I use it in my worm farm as well. So yes, feel free to share how you've used diatomaceous earth. Now, here's another question for you guys. If you have used diatomaceous earth as a pest control, is there any pest that you notice it did not work for? What's your experience on that? So, so far for the pests that I've used it for, it did work. If any of you have used it for slugs, then please let me know if it does work, because I'm kind of questioning whether or not it does work for slugs. Some say it does, but slugs do not have a waxy exoskeleton, and they do have their slime that they use to protect their bodies. So I don't really know how the diatomaceous earth would actually kill them, but then it is said that it does. So if you have used it for slugs, then and it works or it fails, please let me know. I don't have snails and I don't have slugs in my region, but yeah. Okay, so Melanie, you said it doesn't work on aphids. Interesting. When I was having problems with the aphids last year, it worked pretty well because I tried a few methods, including some of my homemade remedy, and that seemed to work, or they seemed to work for a little bit, and then they stopped working. So that is why I turned to the diatomaceous earth for the aphids, and I had spider mites as well. And after using it for a little bit, I didn't have any more problem with them. So yeah, I'm sorry it didn't work for you. I don't know why it didn't work. It should have. Yeah, but I don't know. It would be interesting. I wish there was a way I could do some research to find out why it wouldn't work. I should have become a botanist. Mm. Okay, so can diatomaceous earth be used to prevent bottom end rot? Yes, it can, because as I mentioned before, when I was talking about the level of nutrients in it and the type of nutrients, we discussed the fact that it has 19% calcium in it. So for that reason, it is good for preventing bottom end rot. Now, of course, bottom end rot, for those who may not be aware of the cause of it, it is caused by lack of calcium in your plants, and things like your peppers, your tomatoes, and stuff can develop bottom end rot. So these plants require a reasonable amount of calcium. So diatomaceous earth can be used to prevent bottom end rot. Of course, for those fruits that already develop bottom end rot, there's nothing that can be done for them. But the good thing is that for the new fruits that did not develop the bottom end rot, by adding the diatomaceous earth, it can help to prevent them from getting the bottom end rot. But there's another reason why fruits will have bottom end rot. So even though you may have all the calcium that the plant needs, it can still develop bottom end rot if you do not have enough moisture, if the plant does not have enough moisture. So you have to make sure that you keep your soil properly moist. So when it comes to plant that requires a lot of calcium, plants that produce fruits, you want to make sure that you give it enough moisture, because without the moisture, the plant cannot absorb the calcium. So the two goes hand in hand. It needs the moisture, it needs the calcium. Let's see, Melanie says, one of my rose plant was covered with aphids and I covered the tree with it and nothing happened, but my home remedies work. Okay, good, very good. At least something works. I'd still like to figure out though why the diatomaceous earth didn't work. That's interesting. Anyone else on the live ever have any issues with diatomaceous earth not working on aphids? Yeah, so I don't know. I don't know. Did you spray the plant maybe once and then not spray it again after, or was it a repeated process of using the diatomaceous earth? Because if you use the diatomaceous earth once, It's gonna kill the ones that are there, but then some of them are going to escape and they're going to be laying their eggs and they're going to have new ones being born. So it's not something that you can use just once and then the problem goes away. It is something that you have to keep repeating the process. It's just similar to using other types of pesticide. You just have to keep continue with it until you're not seeing any more pests. CLP says, I have added diatomaceous earth to a dry mix and put it in my worm bin, and that's it. And honestly, I don't know if it's having any effect. Okay. I do use diatomaceous earth in my worm bins for the fungus gnats and fruit flies. The only problem I notice with it is that the bin is wet, and because the bin is wet, the diatomaceous earth get wet as well. And when it is wet, it does not work so well as a pesticide. So what I have been doing is, well, I just started doing that, is just applying the diatomaceous earth to the surface of the bin, and I try to keep the immediate surface of the bin dry. I don't know how effective that is yet because I haven't really looked at my worms since then because I just started doing that about last week. Yes, so I won't be looking back at my worms until a few days from now. So I don't know how effective that is, but then we'll find out eventually. Yes, I did say it works on beetles. Oh, they're eating your ground cherries. Okay, so the diatomaceous earth did not stop the aphids from crawling out of the soil and onto the plants, with my experience. Oh, okay. So that's two persons with a similar experience of it not working with the aphids. Interesting. That's another thing I can't figure out. Why would it work for some and not work for others? Could it be that we're not getting pure diatomaceous earth, or what is it? How can it not work? It would be interesting. I really wish there was some way for me to find out. Okay, so you didn't use it on the soil, just on the plants. Okay. Yeah, one of the sad thing is that when we are applying it to the plants, it's usually in a very thin amount of it. So these creatures are so tiny, sometimes they can find their way around it. So that is the sad part to it, unless we're going to lay it down heavily, and we don't want to do that because we don't want those tiny particles to clog the leaves so that the leaves cannot respire. So there's always some negative to everything that we do in life, but for the most part, as far as I know, it works well. Yeah, but it would be interesting though to find out why it doesn't work on them for some. Is there any genius in the group that knows the answer? Yeah, so guys, I've pretty much covered everything that I wanted to discuss with you today. So if there's anything else that you would like to talk about, feel free. I'm feeling quite happy today. I don't know if you see my video for today yet, but I did my first harvest. I feel nice. The last 2 years have not been too bad in terms of harvesting, although they're never really what I want them to be. But the last 2 years, this year and last year, it's not too bad. Last year, I was able to harvest in June for the first time last year. Usually June is when my seeds would start germinating and things like that. But last year I was able to harvest my pak choy, and then this year no pak choy to harvest. They have bolted, but I've been able to harvest a few little things, so it's not too bad. So this year I'm harvesting more things in June than I did last year. So I'm quite pleased. Usually at the end of June is when a lot of my seeds would, for those seeds that take long to germinate, that's when they would start germinating. But I'm quite disappointed though with my carrots. I don't have a lot of carrots this year at all. Last year, oh my goodness, I had carrots that I didn't even know what to do with them. But this year, even though I planted more carrots than I did last year, most of them didn't germinate, and I'm wondering if maybe could it have something to do with the wood chip mulch that I added to the garden. I don't know. I think that that is it, because usually I know a lot of people have problem with their carrots germinating, but usually I'm very successful with carrots. I fail with other things, but carrots usually work out very well for me. But this year, I don't seem to have a lot of it at all. And for those that I have, some of them are doing well. The first set that I planted, they are about a third the size of the ones that I planted after. I don't know what is causing that. I feel sorry for my kids too, because they planted a lot of carrots in their garden bed, and I don't even think they have a dozen plant in there. So I'm just gonna have to let them harvest mine, some of mine, so they won't feel too bad. Yeah, so I'm pretty happy because some I can see where some of my plants that I was disappointed with last week are doing very well this week. Most of my plants have actually more than doubled in size since this week, and it's only because of the little rain that we got. And it wasn't even any rain, because if you dig down 1 inch into the soil, it will be dry. But I guess it appreciate the little rain that it got. Let's see, LP says, oh, that is such a bummer. I have had mixed results with carrots. Had great germination, but I struggled to get much root. Oh, yeah. Sorry about that, my dear. That's so exciting that you're having such a growth. I've seen a lot of growth too. Yes, that's good. Yeah, I'm just here praying for some rain. It is overcast, but then it was overcast last night when I was watering my plants, and I thought, oh yeah, look as if we're gonna get a rain. Yeah, nothing. So it is. It has been on and off overcast today. I'm like, it does feel as if it wants to rain, but nothing is happening. So I'm very disappointed because two of my tanks are empty, and I am part way through the third one. So now I might have to go back to using the tap water. So I'm quite disappointed that we're not getting any rain. Even one good night of rain would be fine. I have been seeing that heat damaged one tomato and one tomatillo. The tomato is in a 2 gallon pot, and the tomatillo is in a 5 gallon bucket. The soil is moist and the plants are drooping, almost looked like wilt. Yes, that's what I see happening with mine too. For those that I have in my self-wicking bucket, I was so I was so disappointed when I went out there yesterday, because the heat wave has passed and they just continue to look droopy, droopy, droopy. So I decided to overwater them to see overnight to see if that would make a difference. So I gave them so much water, and I don't know, they perked up, but some of them, the top of them is still wilted, because I think maybe the heat damage was just too much. So yeah, they didn't do so well. But for the most part, they perked up. So I'm not gonna complain too much. Let's see, LP says, We have a slight chance of rain tonight, and it's been 90 degrees Fahrenheit. What's the 30? What's that? 30 or so Celsius? I'm keeping my fingers crossed. Well, I do hope you get the rain. I know I could definitely use some now. Oh, your Japanese beetles are back, Russell. What are you gonna use to treat them this time? I thought I would be seeing them this time around in my garden because when I was planting my potatoes in the same bed that has the Japanese beetle, I did see several of them in there. So I didn't want to take any chances, so I put a lot of diatomaceous earth and mix it into the soil. I haven't seen any of them yet, so I don't know if maybe the diatomaceous earth worked, or maybe the type of plant that I have in that bed, they don't like it, so they decide not to. But if they don't like it, they could always just come out and move over to the other plants and eat. But anyway, I haven't seen any of them, so I'm quite happy for that. Yeah. I know that they love the brassicas, but this year I'm struggling with my brassicas. I'm like really, really struggling with them, my brassicas and my lettuce. What a big disappointment. See, I've harvested my carrots. Oh, you're harvesting carrots already. That's nice. They were small. Hope the next set do better. Yeah, hope they do better too. But at least you're able to harvest, so that's not too bad. Yeah, I am looking forward to the carrots. I am really, really disappointed with the carrots because I don't like the store bought carrots. I don't know if there's any nice expression to use to describe the store bought carrots. I don't think there are, but I'll just stick with pathetic. I haven't had a single carrot since I've been in Saskatchewan. Not one single carrot that I did not grow that I can say I enjoy. No matter what you do with them, you boil them, you shred them, you make juice with them. Nothing that I do, I put them in stew. Nothing that I do with them, they just don't taste good. You can't eat them raw. If you try to eat them raw, you might end up sick. I don't know. I really don't know what to do. I'm so disappointed with the carrots. I'm tempted to start some in a container and see what happens. And if anything, I move them indoor for a month or so until they produce. But yeah, I'm very disappointed. Let's see. Russell says I will be doing a mid-morning and evening hand picking into a soapy water. They actually fall into the container when the leaf is touched. Okay, good. That's incredible how different they are. Oh, hi, Tracy. That's okay. I know you're always busy. True, nothing compares to the carrots that you grow. The level of sweetness, I don't know, when you buy the store-bought carrots here, I think I'm buying more chemicals than I'm actually buying carrots. I don't know what the story is, why it is so different because, I mean, if us as gardeners can grow the carrots and make them taste backyard gardeners, if we can grow them and make them taste good, why is it that the store bought ones cannot taste good? Is it that they're using so much chemicals? So LP, your comment, LTD, be a worthy experiment. What is LTD? Okay, so while I'm waiting for that, Yeah, so I started some more lettuce because in my lettuce bed that I did in several videos and show that nothing, well, only one row of them germinated. So I went and re-sowed some seeds maybe 2 weeks now. And lettuce does not take long to germinate, and there is not even one single one that is germinating in there. I don't know if the heat is preventing them from germinating. I don't know what's going on. I tried putting some in containers. I don't know what is going on, but my lettuces, they are just not, this year, they're just not working with me at all. Okay, you say you think the store-bought carrots are grown for production weight more than flavors. Yeah, that's true. And then when you really want carrot and you have nowhere to get it, sometimes you're forced to go and buy the bad ones. Yeah, unfortunately, if we could get everybody to decide they're not going to buy it, then that would work. They would have to grow it for flavor. But since as there are always those who are going to be willing to just keep buying it, then they're going to keep producing these bad tasting carrots, and we won't have any choice in the matter. CLP says, sorry, the apostrophe didn't make it in there. I was trying to say it would be a worthy experiment. Okay, okay. It would be a worthy experiment growing your carrots in container to see if they do better. Yeah, I just might try it. It is kind of a bit late in the season to try it, but then I can always move it indoor and see what happens. Melanie says, that's true. I almost eat all of mine fresh. So sweet and crunchy. Delicious. LP says, any chance they're buried too deep? I struggle with germination this year and I'm wondering if I'm burying too deep. I can't for the life of me germinate Vades collard. Okay, I don't really know what Vade collards are. I've never really seen collards, well, apart from on videos. I don't know if they harvest it for the leaves or if it produce whether a tuber or fruits or whatever the case may be. But yeah, I don't know what those are. But yeah, I think I definitely would like to try the carrots in container, provided provided I can. But my tomatoes that are in the self-wicking buckets, I did sow quite a few carrot seeds in them, and I think maybe I have about in 4 carrots in all germinated out of maybe about 5 buckets. 5 of the buckets I put the carrot seeds in, and I have maybe about 4 plants. So I don't know if the container is gonna work either because those ones did not germinate. I don't know. It's a possibility that they got buried too deeply. Yeah, that's a possibility. Okay, so Tracy says she has more lettuce than they can eat. And your spinach already bolted. Oh, sorry, the spinach bolt, but at least you got the lettuce in. Yeah, I don't know what's going on with my spinach. I planted spinach for the first time. Very few of them germinated, and they are just so small. They hardly seem to be growing. I think they're about 2 inches tall. And I re-sowed some of them maybe 2 weeks ago, and those ones, they're just nothing is taller than 2 inches. So I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what's going on. I don't know if maybe because we've had such weird weather this year, if that is what is affecting the seeds and the seedlings. But it has been a crazy year. But I guess I shouldn't complain too much, at least not yet. The growing season is just part part way, so We still have another 2 months to go. But with how crazy the weather is, I don't even know if we're gonna even have a good enough weather to ensure that we get in the proper produce. But I'm hoping for the best for all of us. We're definitely hoping for the best. Let's see. Tracy says, I have carrots growing, two large containers, and they're doing very well. Okay, lovely, lovely. Yeah. I think I'm gonna try another container. Try a container with them and see how they do. Need to find a container that is the right size though. I don't want something that is too deep, and I don't want something that is too wide either, because I mean, if I have to bring it indoors, I'm going to have to put it somewhere close to the window so it can get lights, because anything I bring in, I have no intention of using grow lights on them. No intention of using grow lights until when it is time to start seedling for the next growing season. Bye, Melanie. Okay, enjoy your trip to the fall. Have a lovely evening. Okay, you grew, LP, you grew the mesclun blend that produced great lettuce, and you had too much as well. Now I know next time to grow less. So now it has bolted, it is worm food. Okay. Yes, I tried the mesclun blend as well, and it didn't do anything. Not one of them germinated as far as I know. And it's a major disappointment because last year I had so many of them, but I guess that's life. You'll win some and you will lose some. But I guess that is why we always keep going, because the more we go, the more we're gonna learn. Yeah. But everything has been so crazy this year weather-wise that you just have to plant and do your best and hope for the best, and maybe you will reap the best. We'll see. Yeah, he says, I sprinkled a long line of it and lightly put dirt over it, just barely. I got more of one kind than another. Okay. Mm. Tracy says, after planting my carrots, I covered them and keep them in dark until they germinated and then remove cover. Yes, I did that with some of my carrots, and even then, some of them didn't germinate. And to be honest, the first set of carrots that I planted in my main garden, quite a few, quite a few of them germinated. I'd say maybe about 50% germination rate. But then now I don't even have 10% of them, so I don't know if something cut them down or what happened to them. But I just know that I don't have the amount that germinated, so I don't know what's going on, because usually when pests are eating my plants, if it's cutworm, I would see where they cut down the plant, or some other pest you will see spots or holes or stuff like that in a plant. But this year I am seeing where the entire leaf of the plant just disappear. And when I say disappear, I mean very fast, where it could not have been something like a bug or something that is eating it, because all my romaine lettuces that I have, they just one day you see them, and the next day all you see is just the little hard stem of the plant remaining. So I don't know. I don't know what's eating them, because I'm wondering if maybe the birds. Do you know if birds eat plants? If birds will eat lettuces? I don't know. I'm actually wondering if birds are eating, because they are the only things I'm seeing in the garden. And I have a lot of magpie here, and they are everywhere. They take over my yard. Those noisy little bugs. Or should I say those noisy little birds? Yes, I don't know if maybe they are eating, if the birds eat the lettuce. So if you know if birds eat vegetable, let me know. Oh, maybe I should do a research on that too. Let's jot it down. Yeah, so I'm gonna have to research that because I need to know. Okay, Russell said the falls are awesome. Yeah, I don't know. I love waterfalls. I went to Niagara when that would have been about 8 or more years ago. I went there. That was the last time I've seen a waterfall, but it was fun. It was fun. I haven't seen any rabbits in recent times. Yes, I'm not seeing any rabbits, but come to think of it, my neighbor said she sees what's that thing called? It's not a squirrel. Gopher. Yes. My neighbor said she is having issues with a gopher, and the neighbor across the street is having issues with a gopher too. It is actually digging holes underneath their steps. So I don't know. Do gophers eat the vegetables? Do you know? Yeah. So apart from the gopher, I don't really have any large animals that I would expect to affect my plants. It's apart from the birds. And all my strawberries that I planted and they were doing so well, and the birds ate all the birds ate all of my strawberries. So all I have now is just the bare plants sitting there looking at me. So I'm gonna have to make some form of mesh covering for them. Yeah, but then I'm just thinking if I make a mesh cover, strawberries aren't the only thing that I'm growing in those beds. So how do I cover the strawberries? And the strawberries usually spread. So how do I cover them so that the birds don't get in there? What else can I do to prevent the birds from eating them? Because the strawberries, they were looking so nice. They were like big, just starting to ripen, and then they're gone. Okay, maybe the gophers are eating it. I don't know. You don't have gophers, but you have groundhogs. Yeah, we have groundhogs, but not in my region. They mostly are seen in open areas or on acreages, but they don't really come into the city much. Russell says, are magpies the crows with white under their wings? I don't know. I know they have long tails and they're black, blue, and white in color. Not the tail, but the bird itself is black, blue, and white. They do look kind of like they are related to crows, to be honest, but I don't know. I don't really know much about them. I just know that they are extremely noisy, and I know that it is said that if you try to chase them away, they will remember you and they will try to attack you, and they might bring other members of their family to attack you. But and they say that they will take the eggs out of other birds' nests and put and lay their own eggs in there so that other birds will do all the work of hatching their eggs for them. But apart from that, I don't really know much about them. Yeah. But I have lots and lots and lots and lots of them. Okay, so LP says she doesn't have magpies in Michigan, but they're members of the crow family. Okay. Okay. Tracy says they are like scavengers, noisy and annoying to other birds. Okay. Yeah, no, Canadians don't like them because when I was working as a sub, my boss used to talk about how much he hates them because they are just not nice birds. But yeah, I don't really know much about them, but I wish there was some way I could find a way to get rid of them because it seems as if every year their population is getting more and more, and I'm seeing less and less of the other birds that I'm accustomed to having around me. I don't know if maybe because of the presence of the magpies, so because of that, the other birds are leaving. But yeah, I'm not getting to see much of the other birds. I see the chickadee, and occasionally I see the woodpecker. And which other one? I don't remember what that little one is. That little one is called. But yeah, I'm not seeing as many different types as I used to. So I don't know. Maybe the magpies are running them up, chasing them away. Okay, so you're suggesting growing the lettuce somewhere that animals can't get to it, or somewhere where you can surround it with some form of cage. If it is the gopher and you protect from gopher, then they grow right. But the only thing is that the seeds are not germinating, and these are brand new seeds. Most of them are not seeds that I've had for longer than this growing season. I bought them, but they're just not germinating, and as soon as they germinate, nothing happens. The few that germinate, nothing is happening with them. So I don't know. Yeah, but that's a good suggestion. If only I can get them to germinate. Yeah, I guess that's the biggest issue right now is getting them to germinate. Yeah, but time will tell. We'll see what happens. Like because it is lettuce and lettuce grow so fast, I just keep on sowing seed. Whatever happens, happens. If I get some, then I get some. Oh yes, a question for you guys. Have you ever grown bean sprout? And I attempt to grow some this year, and I did have a nice germination rate, but I don't know anything about growing bean sprout. I don't know when you harvest it. I don't know how long it takes to harvest, or anything of the sort. Okay, you have robins and they eat your worms. Okay. Yeah, we have robins too. And whenever I put my worm castings outside to dry it off, I would always find the robins in there. And my compost bin that I had worms too, every year. Well, this year is not so bad, but all the previous years, the robins would be in the compost bin. I don't know if they're digging for my worms or what the case may be, but they're always in there. Let's see, LP says, sorry, I'm multitasking, so I don't think I heard you right before. Try just dropping on the surface and barely sprinkling soil on it. Water often. Yes, I have tried that. For seeds that are tiny, I usually just put them on the surface and then just gently press them into the soil. And some of them, I give them a very light covering of soil, but I don't know, nothing seems to work. But I'll keep trying because failure is not an option. So if I fail, it must be because the seeds are not good, but it must not be because I didn't try. So I'm trying different methods to see what works. LP says, I have tried sprouting seeds. They're apparently super healthy, but they always get moldy, so I give up. Okay, okay. Well, mine, they are growing, but I don't know how, at what point in time do you harvest them? What is it that is there to be harvested anyway? Because they just look like some very tiny plants. So I don't know if it is something that's gonna grow big. I don't know. Maybe I should research it. Yeah, maybe I should research it because I'm not a fan of bean sprout, but my husband is, so I'm attempting to grow some for him. Let's see. LP says robins like to raid my beds when I have leaf mulch on top. Okay. I thought a squirrel was digging in my bed until I saw a robin out there. Also, they even dig holes. Thank you, LP. I won't quit. Same to you, Tracy. Have a lovely evening. Stay safe. Yeah. Okay, so I think I'm going to be saying goodbye too. I'm a bit tired, so I want to go and see if I can get a little bit of rest. Still have a lot of things to get to plan out, so I need to go back to updating my schedule again. It's amazing how creating a schedule never ends. As soon as you find one that look as if it works, then you find that you have to adjust it again. It's hard to stay on top of the things that you need to get done. Anyway, you guys take care, and I hope you guys have a wonderful evening and that you will enjoy your garden. Oh, they're scratching big patches away. And that's why Russell was saying birds in his garden was creating trouble. In my place, there's a bird feeding tree right up against my Saskatoon berries, but the bird feeding tree is over next door. So between that and my Saskatoon berries, it is constantly attracting the birds. So most of the time when I'm doing videos and you're hearing birds, they're in my Saskatoon berry or the bird feeding tree next door. So I don't think I'm gonna get any Saskatoon berry this year because I'm looking at the berries and see where they're eating them already. They aren't even ripe yet. But anyway, take care, guys. Have fun. Stay safe until I see you again on Friday. All being well. Oh, you're welcome, LP. Not easy to put together. So true. So true. Anyway, take care.